What's going on, y'all? Let's talk about how you can long term build muscle and stay lean without taking steroids. All right. So, obviously, I'm on TRT, right? Which is like medically prescribed. You go to the doctor, you come back, your testosterone is under 300, and they're like, hey, you're low T, let's bring this up, right? So, that's what TRT is. Let's go ahead and get that out of the way. Okay, if you're over 25, you probably need to get your testosterone checked, especially because low T is becoming an epidemic in this country thanks to just poor lifestyle behaviors and staying inside all the time, right? So you need to get that checked out. That's another topic. So now that we've talked about that, let's talk about what you can do to build tissue and keep your body fat down naturally. Okay, step one, high protein diet. The thing is, the way that steroids work is they really increase your nitrogen retention, right? So basically, you have this positive nitrogen balance and it keeps your body anabolic, right? So every time you break down some tissue, it's like some amino acids are like already sitting there, like, whoop, they just get like sucked in there, right? And your body's able to use those super quickly to build tissue. Okay, that's like the big perk of anabolic steroids is the increased nitrogen retention. Now the thing is, if we keep our protein intake high, right, we might not be able to get that exact same effect, but we can stay in a positive nitrogen balance. So when we are breaking down tissue, we're doing the same kind of scenario, right, where we're able to repair broken down tissue pretty much at the same time that it's getting, torn up, right? So maintain positive nitrogen balance. My marker's dying. This is very important if you're natural, because every time you work out, if you are not keeping your protein high, your body is going to actually want to like get rid of the muscle, okay? So keep your protein intake very high, all right? The second thing, guys, we want to control our insulin. All right? This is the most anabolic hormone in the body, and it's literally directly responsible for signaling your body to begin protein synthesis post exercise. Okay, if you blunt your body's response to insulin basically by eating like carbs all of the time, right, and especially carbs and sugars with fats, okay, you're not going to get as strong of a recovery effect from insulin post workout. Okay, so it is really important that you dial this in. So, what I like to do during the day, I don't eat carbs. Okay, I'll eat like pretty much like straight protein and veggies all day, right? And then pre workout is like 25 grams of fast carbs. And then during my workout, I'm doing like 50 to 75 grams of carbs because my body's burning it, right? And it's like honestly like a super great way to fuel your lift, just FYI. And then post workout, right? This is when you want to like really hit your carbs. Is your post workout window, because these carbs are going to stimulate insulin, right? And that's going to signal your body to use the protein in your post workout meal to build tissue, right? So it's doing two things here, right? It's signaling protein synthesis, and it's also signaling your body to put these carbs into glycogen, right? Instead of storing them as fat or burning them. Okay, so this is going to be protein synthesis, and it's actually, you need glucose in you, and you need insulin to perform this. If you don't eat carbs post workout, if you just do your traditional protein shake, your protein synthesis is significantly less effective because you need insulin to signal protein synthesis, right? Without insulin, this really doesn't happen, okay? And then we got glycogen storage. And this is important because glycogen is responsible for helping you look like you have tissue, right? So you have glycogen stored in your muscle, which is fuel, right? Fuel for your exercise. And along with the glycogen, you actually pull in some water, and that's what helps you stay full and look like you have muscle. And without glycogen, you look flat and you just kind of look like a swimmer. Now, so this is basically how we want to run our diet, okay? We want to have a high protein diet base, and to be honest with you, I recommend pretty high. Like, to be honest, I wouldn't, if you weigh 200 pounds, I would do like 250 grams of protein, right? And people are gonna be like, oh, it's too high, but you know, whatever. It's also gonna keep you from being overly hungry and eating a bunch of bad stuff that is going to blunt your insulin, okay? So eat a lot of protein. It's also going to stimulate your thyroid, which is going to keep your metabolism faster, right? And then that's going to help keep you lean, okay? So high protein diet, I would eat your protein like every an hour and a half to every 3 hours. You know, the whole like protein with like, you know, eating a whole bunch of times a day is like not really super relevant, but it is hard to eat enough protein because sometimes that lean meat is hard to get down, right? It's hard to eat enough protein and like eating every 5 hours, right? I mean, that's like 100 grams every 5 hours, and that's hard. That's like 16 ounces of meat, and it's a lot. So it's really just easier if you break it up, right? It's easier on your gut. It's easier on you. You know, plus if you know you're not doing glucose every time you eat, you know, like these high protein meals, you're not gonna get as sleepy, all right? Because you're not leaving as much stuff in your gut to pull blood away from your brain. Okay, so high protein diet all day. We're gonna do carbs, pre-workout, intra-workout to fuel our intense activity and help us hit failure to stimulate our body to build more tissue, right? And then post-workout, we're stimulating protein synthesis with carbohydrates, which stimulate insulin. And again, you know, we're all coming back down to here where we're stimulating that protein synthesis and glycogen storage, right? But the key here, right, is we want to dial in our insulin, okay? So this also means we really need to like watch how we're eating during the week, okay? We need to eat really clean. We need to stick to our diets because when we're eating a bunch of like junk food and we're eating out, especially like these sweet treats, right? Like cake, cookies, stuff like that, right? We are destroying our body's ability to react to this, right? We're making us more insulin resistant, so to speak, right? And you want to be as insulin sensitive as you possibly can be when you're trying to build muscle and stay lean. That way, every time that you eat carbs, you're really promoting protein synthesis and glycogen storage and nothing else, right? You want to make sure your carbs are actually going towards fueling intense activity, which is weightlifting, right? And also stimulating this protein synthesis and glycogen storage. This is pretty much the essentials of how to build tissue without a bunch of drugs running around in your system, okay? Now, training wise, it is important that you go in the gym and you kill it. Like, people really like to overcomplicate their training. They're like, oh, I did three minute rest today, or do I do like 3 reps and blah blah blah. But look, the ultimate reality, guys, is you just have to go in and smash the weights, okay? Like, you need to like train like you want to be there. And if you like really can't muster up that energy, then I don't know what to tell you, right? But the bottom line is exercise that builds muscle hurts, okay? So if your workouts don't hurt, right? If you're going in there and you're benching like 225, right? And you know you can do 10 reps, but you stop at 8 because some dude on the internet said don't train to failure, you're not going to build tissue, right? It's those last 2 reps to failure that tell your body, oh shoot, need to acclimate to this heavier load. Let's build more tissue. We need to adapt, right? All you were doing is stimulating adaptations, right? And if you're like over there not stimulating adaptations because you train like a wuss, then you're not gonna grow. End of story. Okay, so get in there, kill it, right? And again, training hard for short periods of time is significantly more important than being in the gym for like 2 hours and doing some high volume crap, right? Like 12 to 15 reps. That's not going to build tissue whatsoever, okay? Where you're going to build tissue is like your 8 to 10 rep range with heavy weight, okay? Like you need to smash it. You need to do your compound lifts, right? No more of this isolation crap. Especially if you're a newbie in the gym, it is important that you stick to barbells and dumbbells, okay? Really avoid the machines. I know it's going to be like a learning curve, but the thing is, the machines, they don't really allow you to train all the muscles that you want to be training, and so it's just really kind of an inefficient way to work out, right? You need to get in there, and your first exercise needs to be a big compound lift like bench press, squats, or deadlifts, right? And then you need to build out the rest of your training program from there, and then maybe at the end you can incorporate some isolation exercises if you're like pretty burned out, right? So that's where those can come in handy. Okay, so bottom line, and we'll wrap this up: high protein diet, stay insulin sensitive, time our carbs around our workouts, train heavy and train hard, y'all. That is the recipe for you to get jacked and leaner without taking drugs. All right, thanks.